Some people would say to me, guys, that they were in a bomb shelter for 6 or 7 days, and the bomb shelter would be maybe like the car park in the basement of their apartment complex, and because it was so packed with people, there was no space to lie down. So one woman said to me, like, her mother was in her 80s, and she said, I have to leave, my mother is in her 80s, she cannot lie down in the bunker, we have no choice, we cannot live underground forever. We wanted to stay in Kyiv, but like, it was just too dangerous. So she made the decision to leave because there was literally no space for her to lie down in the bunker.
It's just shocking.
That's really shocking.
But even if people are telling you that story, and this is like the great challenge of anyone having to go to the scene of an unfolding humanitarian disaster like that, is to try and keep your level headed on, that you're still just, you're trying to just do straightforward reporting for a TV bulletin, and it's challenging to park your own emotions. But seeing that endlessly and having the next person come up to you and tell you a story about, my pensioner mother couldn't lie down, so this was their only option. Yeah. Or someone else coming and saying, well, the father has to stay behind because he's of conscription age, so here I am with the children and I've got nowhere to go. How do you keep a level head, or how do you keep a straight face telling that story?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's your job and you have to do it, and I think as well you have a huge responsibility when you're there. It's my responsibility to tell their story, to give them a voice, and to tell it well, and to give them the respect and the dignity to speak about what they're going through. So I kind of park my own emotions in those moments, but I'm not going to lie to you, Joni and I cried a few times.
Yeah. Because where you were, and the sheer volume of people that are coming over, you mentioned one of the refugee camps being temporary. Like, it does literally have to be temporary because there are so many more people coming.
Yeah, so
that you need those people to move on so that the next family coming can have somewhere to go.
Yes, of course, and that is the priority. And the Polish authorities, I should say, by the way, have been phenomenal in their response. But yes, what they're doing is they're bringing buses in, so they're kind of really encouraging people to come, stay for 24 hours, get your bearings. When you arrive there, actually, there's these electric signs that say Poland will help you, and they have a map, you are here, like to help people identify where they are. And it's phenomenal. But they come in, they're sleeping in. So one of the camps is a Tesco, a former Tesco that closed down a year ago. It's filled with camp beds the whole way through. But bearing in mind that, like, say the lights that we're under right now, these fluorescent lights are on all the time.
Supermarket lighting.
Try putting your kids to bed in fluorescent lighting after they've fled a war zone. Honestly, that's something that we don't even think about. But so you're walking through in the nighttime, and people will have like little blankets over their kids' eyes to help them fall asleep, and they're exhausted because they're tiny and they've walked so far. All of this is a factor. But what you will notice, Gavin, is that yes, they bring buses and they want people to not get stuck in the border region. They want them to go to the bigger cities, to the Krakow and Warsaw and places like this. But if people have nowhere to go, they don't speak the language, they don't have the financial means to get there, then they tend to stand still. You're not going to be
in a rush to leave.
No,
you've had somewhere to rest your bones, and even if your quality of sleep is terrible, if you have nowhere else to go, then why would you move?
If there's food and it's warm, you can understand why you would stay there. And I think we are going to have to keep a close eye on this, because I do think that the dynamic of this humanitarian crisis is going to change. It is changing by the day, because they are now people who have no connections outside Ukraine, and it's really difficult for them.
The thing is, I wonder, does this change how governments and some people in Europe view refugees as a whole? That Europe has been found wanting before in terms of people fleeing Syria or Iraq or Afghanistan, and this has touched something in a lot of people. This has, and people can get into whatever semantics about why that is.
Yeah.
But it has touched people, and I do think that people might, and governments who have been against it, who have been slow really to act, that maybe this does change something, and that maybe as a country and as a continent we are a bit more open towards the idea of people and what they're facing and why they are fleeing their homes.
So if this had all happened a year ago, and then you had Afghanistan and the Taliban taking back over again and millions of people looking to flee, would Western governments have been a little bit more open-hearted and said, well, we've already done this once, how are these people any different? We are in their neighbourhood, their house is on fire, we're not going to kick them out because we don't have a spare bed.
I think it sets a precedent, which is probably a good thing in some ways, that we're laying the foundations for helping our fellow humans going forward.